Hello Dixie Belle paint fans, how are you today? It is Melissa from the Top Drawer RVA coming on live because it is Wednesday and I'm live here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. to hang out, sit on the floor, and play with some paint. So welcome. If you are new, joining me for the first time, I would love it if you dropped in the comments below where you're watching from. And if you're back again to hang out and play with paint, welcome back. Welcome back. So what do we got today? We got a hot mess express right here. We have a very long prepped piece. I love it. I love this piece, and honestly, if you need to see the beginning of it before it looks like a Cheeto like it does now, you can check that out on my Facebook page, which I did link in the description above. But this little piece is not so little, and she is very damaged. And today we are going to have a good talk all about prep work. Proper prep saves the day. You don't want to be coming in and painting your furniture and doing it not the right way. So we are going to talk all about prep today. Okay, perfect. So what do we got? Well, we got the Hot Mess Express right here. This piece. Deep sigh, let me tell you. Okay, so first of all, it's a beautiful dresser. It is beautiful. The bones are beautiful. It is big. It is giant. It is dovetailed, and she has some gorgeousness hiding because right now all you see is the Hot Mess Express. I got this piece at my local Goodwill for $30. Why did I get it for $30? Because it was missing hardware and the veneer on this bottom drawer was completely ripped off. It looked like a zebra of missing veneer stripes, right? And we all know that if you paint furniture or if you painted furniture before, you know when you look at a piece with massive veneer damage, you know that you have to either take it completely 100% off or fill it in with mud. And that is what you're seeing over here. Hello, I see people watching. Perfect. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to do some prep work today because this dresser is sucking the life out of me and we need to get it ready for paint because I can't wait to paint it. I'm just like still stuck in the whole get it ready for paint phase. So what have I done? Well, first of all, everything gets cleaned with white lightning. What is white lightning? White lightning is a powdered base cleaner that you disperse into a spray misting bottle filled with water and use it to clean your project, okay? That's gonna get rid of the surface, like grime and dirt, all the yucky stuff that you don't want to be under your paint. Next up, you're going to assess your piece, and this piece had some damages, like I said. This bottom drawer, I had to remove the entire layer of veneer with a multi-tool, which is somewhere on the floor. Might be up here. Nope, those are knobs. The multi-tool, which is like a little spatula with a hard blade end, and my hammer. I hammered off and heated up and hammered off all the veneer that was on here. That left me with holes. Often when you take off that top layer of veneer on a wood piece, you're going to see the wood underneath is a lot different than that veneer piece. This is still solid wood. This is dovetailed, amazing construction. But underneath this beautiful veneer that you see up here, like the top part of the wood, right? Because when you look at a veneer is just a light coating of wood that sits on top of a bigger piece, okay? So this is pretty wood. This is not so pretty wood. I needed to take off those layers in order to make it smooth and even. After I did that, I did come in with my Dixie Belle's Mud. Mud is your really great paste, okay? This is like a thick icing in there. Can you see it? I take a little spatula and I just mud the heck out of it. Mud. Anywhere that needed mud. So any holes, any little tiny divots that are on here, that's what you're seeing is white mud. And then you sand it back to flat. So you're left with, say, maybe some big holes of missing veneer or this keyhole that was broken because the keyholes on both sides were broken. So I've decided to fill them, and I'm going to be putting a fake keyhole over top. So you can fill in your holes and your damages with mud. Even down here, there was a small hole from where the original hardware would have had a nail driven into it. So all of that is filled in and sanded back to flat. That way, when it's flat like this, you can paint right over top of it and you're not going to see any of those external damages, okay? Mud is going to be a girl's best friend when it comes to furniture prep. And this is the video all about furniture prep. All right, so now that my mud has dried, I removed this first layer of veneer. I'm left with a surface that is not really even and pretty. I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer so you can see this drawer nice and close up front, okay? Come on down here. So if you look at this wood, there's some wood grain on here. There's a couple little bits of some glue left from where they would have had glue to put that veneer on. It's just not a nice, smooth, pretty piece of wood. And what does that mean? that means you need to prepare it with something. So Dixie Belle has now come out with a product called Bonding Boss. Have you seen Bonding Boss? Dun, dun, dun. This, along with Dixie Belle's Mud, should be in every girl's toolbox, because this is the stuff that's going to take you from raggedy dresser that nobody wants for $30 at the Goodwill to fantastic and fabulous and painted. So I'm going to be applying Boss to this. Now, this is a new product. Bonding Boss is fairly new. It's only been out for a couple months. I still have some regular Boss to use up, okay? What is Bonding Boss? Have you tried this before? Bonding Boss is a primer that Dixie Belle has made up with your tannin blocking, stain blocking primer inside of it, as well as your slick stick. So back in the day, if you were painting anything plastic, shiny, metal surface, you would use slick stick as your gripping primer. If you had something that was like red wood that was bleeding like this, that might have had uneven surfaces that you really wanted to get all one, you know, cohesive surface before you began, you would use Boss, right? And we had all of those in different colors. We had Boss in clear, we have Boss in white, we have Boss in gray, and now we have the brand new Bonding Boss. So I looked in my cupboard today because I thought I better use my old Boss before I continue to use all the new stuff, because it's still great stuff. This is just one product. This is technically two products in one. So today we're going to use our Boss in gray. This is the old formula, just Boss, and we are going to put it onto our piece. So you really want to shake or stir, really get this stuff going, because it can sit and settle and kind of congeal at the bottom if you wait too long, which is the other reason why I want to use this one up before I get any more new Bonding Boss. So what is the gray Boss going to do for me? Well, we're going to apply it with a roller. Dixie Belle makes a roller kit that comes with your smooth roller and your little tray, as well as a refill kit. These are foam rollers. We're going to foam roll on our Boss in order to make a nice even surface that might fill in a couple of these little holes, hide some imperfections, and give me the superpower for blocking any stains or tannins or bleed through that might happen. It's also going to give me then an even base from the drawer that's had the veneer removed to the drawer that just has patching on it. It's all going to be the same color, it's all going to look the same, and it's going to be a great start to my painted project. Now, before we begin with our Boss, do you want to know what direction I think I'm going to go with this piece? I asked for your help. If you guys are following me, I actually asked for your help on this piece on YouTube. You better be following me across all the platforms, because I post different things every day. I asked for your help in saying, what do I do to this big, bad, beautiful beast? Because I know I'm going to stain the legs, I know I'm going to stain the top, but when drawers are sketchy like this and don't really match, I tend to like to add a paper. If I add a decoupage paper to the front of this dresser, it's going to hide a lot of this cheetah print mud. It's going to hide any of the flaws, because this is not a perfect piece, but that's okay. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. She's still beautiful just the way she is, but using a paper is a great way to disguise any damages. And this is the paper that I have chosen for my project. So this is Sepia Rose Song. Have you seen this? This is a newer paper from Dixie Belle. Let me hold it up here for a minute so you can get a nice, beautiful view. It's brand new. It's fairly large. You can see it here. Let's see the size. It's 23 inches, 23.37 actually, 23.37 by 33. Okay, so it's pretty big. And the colors on it are stunning. I haven't used this yet. This is a brand new paper from the brand new release on Bells and Whistles. But by putting Boss primer, or Bonding Boss, then putting a nice light color of paint, and then applying my paper to just these bottom two drawers and painting it in. You guys know I love to paint things in. This is going to be the perfect fit for this romantic dresser. Thank you to my friend Patty, if she's watching. She usually is. Thank you, Patty, for telling me. I had a little powwow with her this morning in our messages just to kind of go over and like, what do I do with this? And she's like, oh, what about that? And I'm like, obviously, smarty pants. She always has the answer for me. So she told me this one, and as soon as I held it up, I was like, oh, of course. Now I can't do anything other than this because it's perfect. So let's get ready for prep, but check out that paper. Stay tuned for this big, beautiful piece because she is Stunning. She's going to be so cool. Okay, so how do I apply my Boss? Well, let me tell you something. If you're applying Boss, this is a water-based stain blocker. Remember, we have the new bonding Boss. This Boss can be washed out of your brushes. It's a-okay. You can wash your brushes that you use in your Boss. But if you're using the brand new bonding Boss that has the slick stick built into it, you're going to want to use something that you can throw away after you're finished, okay? Because you don't really want to put this down the drain, it's not recommended. I like to use my Foam and Dandy brush. It's a 2-inch. I can get into all the corners. I can really push that bonding Boss around. And I like to use my foam roller, which I will wrap up in saran wrap afterwards. And it'll allow me to reuse it a couple times before I have to get rid of it. The instructions for bonding Boss and the instructions for regular Boss are a little bit different. You can put this on and paint sooner than 24 hours if you'd like. But when you use the brand new bonding Boss, you must wait 24 hours before you apply your paint, okay? Because of that built-in slick stick that's in there. It's a little bit of a different project. So today we are going to open up our gray regular Boss, old school Boss. And we're going to paint these 2 drawers. All right, I know this is an exciting, fun, crazy tutorial, but everybody needs a refresher sometimes on proper prep. Yes, I know that this has stuff in it, but it's dry. I usually line this with foil, but the lazy mama didn't get up and go get the foil, so now we just reuse the same tray. Once it gets dry, it's totally fine. So I'm going to pour this Boss in here, and I am going to move it aside. So this is Boss in gray. Why would you use Boss in gray versus Boss in clear? Do you know why you might choose that? Have you ever had that question asked to you before? When you're using a product that you might put a lot of color over top of, things like yellow, things like pink, things like red, things that are highly pigmented, like to have a nice neutral primer underneath. So using the bonding Boss or the regular Boss in gray is going to allow me to use any brighter colors on top and use less amounts of paint. So if I were to want to sand this back to show the edges, maybe you were going to do a very farmhouse distressed look, I would use clear, because then you can sand through the clear and see this nice wood color. But I do know that I'm not going to be doing that to this piece. Today's piece is going to be all colors that match that beautiful sepia rose paper. And to get the colors that I'm going to choose for my sepia, is it sepia or sepia? Because you know this accent is going to get me in trouble. On the weekly basis, somebody tells me I say something and pronounce something incorrectly. Is it sepia or sepia? If you know, drop it in the comments below. Help this Canadian accented lady out so that I just don't sound like a fool every time I say the same word. I think it's sepia. But I don't know, let's see. Sepia, Patty says sepia. Hey Patty, how are you? Okay, so now you're gonna be able to see how this beautiful gray primer is gonna go on and hide some of those flaws. Remember, the surface is not really great. This is like a lower grade wood underneath the veneer. I'm gonna bring you nice and close so that you can see exactly how the wood looks and exactly how this goes down, okay? And that way you're able to really understand why using a primer on this raw wood is a good idea. So you can see it really getting on there and giving me the coverage. It's going to soak in a little bit to some of those tiny little lines and holes that you might see on your piece. But using gray kind of gives me the ability to choose whatever color I want on top. But I will use that sepia paper, and I'm going to go into the color mixer on Dixie Belle's website. Dixie Belle has something called the color mixer. And the color mixer allows you to have a photo. So I will have a photo of the paper, that beautiful paper, and I will be able to enter that photo into the color mixer, and it's going to tell me exactly what colors I can choose. Because there's colors in here that I can see that I would choose. I see tea rose, I see some buttercream, I see a little collard greens. But this paper itself is kind of dark when you look at the white edge compared to what's underneath, right? So by putting it on a nice light surface like this beautiful gray Boss, because I'm going to paint over top of it, it's just going to make this paper pop. It's going to look like $1,000,000. But that's my trick to finding the colors for the paper, is just go to the color mixer, punch in that photo, and you're able to have the computer tell you exactly which color tones are going to work best with your project. takes the grunt work out. So what am I going to do to this project? Well, I'm going to use this bonding boss, and I'm going to paint the base. I'm not painting the top, and I'm not painting the feet. The feet will be stained the same color as the top, whether it be espresso or colonial black. One or the other is going to be used on the top and the legs of this piece. Look at how much better it looks already. You can't even really tell that this was such an uneven surface. Another trick for you is if your wood has a heavy grain like this piece did after you remove the veneer, you can take your mud and just do a skim coat of mud over the entire thing and then just do a very light sand. And then what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a nice baby soft, smooth surface. It's gonna give you what you're looking for. But for me, knowing I'm going to cover this up with texture and most likely use my favorite terra clay paint, I don't need to worry about that. I am also, if you notice, not adding my primer to the top edge of the drawer. Anybody know why I am not adding this to the top edge of the drawer? It's because this is a very old dresser, okay? So let me see if I don't have any screwdrivers on the floor to push this in. I'll just use my fingers and a brush. When you push your drawers in and they're very old, like this piece is quite old. See how tightly it sits? It's wood on wood glides, okay? So if you are adding extra layers of thickness to the edges and the top of your drawers, you might have a harder time closing and opening your drawer, right? Because it's an old piece. It's not perfect, but nobody is. I'll keep telling you that. I'll keep reminding you that. Nobody's perfect, but she can still be beautiful and perfect in her own way. So if I were to really clog up the sides and the top with a primer, then paint, then paper, that's a lot of thickness to add to the top of a drawer. And opening and closing it might become more of an issue. I did lubricate my drawers. Let me see if I still have it on the floor. I do. All of my drawers have been lubricated with my butter. Butter smells. I wish you all had smell-o-vision. Dun, dun, dun. This is Orange Grove. This is like my favorite smell. My favorite smell. This one in flannel, and I think they've discontinued the flannel. But the Orange Grove smells so good. This little gel in here, this little kind of like a balm, this goes on all of my drawers on the bottom because when they glide in and out, right, this is a wood surface. So in order to get this to glide really well, I have a brush that I keep just for my butter, and it's butter with an A, not butter. It's butter. And I lubricate all of my edges of my wood drawers. This is really good too if you want to come in here. These are not in 100% great shape, so I will be lining these. But if this was, say, a nice clean wood and you wanted to just revive it, you could very easily use this butter on that as well. But by lubricating those drawer glides, what I'm able to do is then put that drawer in and it opens and closes so much easier than it would if you didn't have that. But my hot tip, my handy dandy tip of the day would be on vintage drawers like this to not add extra to your edges. Don't bother putting the primer on your edges. When your drawers are closed, it sits flush, you're not going to see. And by adding primer and paint and possibly paper, you could just clog it all up and then it's going to be really hard to open and close. I do have a tip, and my tip comes from one of Dixie Belle's amazing content creators. We have a wonderful creator, actually. He's based in Canada, in Toronto, where I am from. His name is David at Five and Dime. If you don't have David on your follow list, go and add him. David does this amazing thing with gilding wax, and I've totally taken his idea. Don't worry, I credit him every time. And he uses gilding wax on the edge, just this top edge that you see when you open and close your drawer. And using a gold gilding wax or a bronze gilding wax looks like $1 million when you open and close the drawer without adding that thickness that might make the drawer hard to open and close. So thank you, David, for your hot tip, handy dandy tip of the day. We are going to paint one more drawer with primer, and then I'm going to let you go because who wants to sit and watch me paint gray primer? That's not a lot of fun, but I hope that you've learned a lot, learned a little anyways from my project today. So rolling on is going to keep this nice and smooth. I'm going to be adding 2 even coats. So when I'm finished with this part of the project today, I will wrap this up in saran wrap or plastic wrap or put a bag around it, wait a couple hours, come back in and add another coat. And by adding that nice even coat, using this beautiful smooth roller, you are going to have the most perfect surface for paint. Going right over top of all of those details where the mud has been repaired. You won't even be able to tell. And yes, there's a little oval here on the front, but I thought it was kind of cute. I could have taken it off to make it completely flat, but I think what I'll end up doing is when I apply my paper over top, you'll still see a little bit of that round, and I think I might even come in and just add an extra little stencil over top of that really cute little round bit right there on the front. I love old dressers and old pieces. Things like this makes me happy to save it because, to be honest, I don't think anybody but me is crazy enough to get such a project that you need to put hours and hours of prep in. It took me at least an hour and a half to remove all the veneer from that drawer on the bottom yesterday. But that's okay. She will be worth it in the end, right? Worth it in the end. So I'm just gonna roller on this beautiful gray primer and get this beauty ready for paint. Does anybody have any questions while you have me here? I'm always happy to answer them either while the live is rolling or afterwards. I'm here to help. I have a vast amount of knowledge, and to be honest, if I didn't have your answer, I would be happy to ask somebody who did. Somebody somewhere would know the answer to any dilemma that you might have. So there you go. What do you think? Let's see if I can push this drawer in. Let's use my little handle to gently close this one as well, because I can use my screwdrivers to open it up again. See how nice it glides after you put that butter on the joints? So nice. So all of this is just going to be the same. I'm going to be doing this piece as well. Little guy in the center. And then I'll open the drawers, obviously, so that they don't stick shut, because we don't want that to happen. But this whole entire piece is going to get rollered with Boss to prepare for paint. That's going to block any stains, any bleed throughs. As a quick reminder, I am using the original Boss, but now that that has been discontinued, you're going to get a 2-for-1 whammy with the Bonding Boss. You're going to get your Slick Stick and your Bonding Boss together in one jar. It's like magic in a can. I use it all of the time. You can see how much I use it. I use it so much I can't even close the lid anymore. But my friends, that is all for me today. I hope that you learned something about Dixie Belle's prep and proper prep for paint. Don't be afraid of these scary pieces that you find at an auction or in your garage or at a yard sale. Once you take off that veneer and you get it back to flat and you repair any holes you might have with mud, you can do anything to that sad old dresser that you can do to a brand new one. Don't you worry. It's going to be fabulous. I promise. Stay tuned. Make sure you're following me across all social media. My name is Melissa at the Top Drawer RVA. I post every day on every platform, all the time. I love my job and I'm happy to help. So any questions you might have, feel free to send them my way, and stay tuned for this because she's going to be beautiful. Where's my paper? One more time. I'll let you look at the paper one more time to imagine how gorgeous this dresser is going to be with that big, beautiful, romantic paper on the front. I mean, hello. It's going to be stunning. Don't worry. We're going to paint in the edges. I'm going to add some stenciling. There's going to be gold. There's going to be texture. And I have the original hardware for the bottom 4 drawers. I have different hardware for the top because I didn't have all of the pieces, but bottom 4 drawers are going to have original hardware to this piece. And she will have new life. I promise. I will see you guys next week, next Wednesday at 3 p.m. here on the Dixie Belle Paint page. Take care. Thank you very much.